We really appreciate you coming out and supporting music here at the middle school. I'm Aaron Liebers, assistant principal here, and you know what? Let's get started. I'd like to introduce our band directors, Mr. Dan Gazinski, Mrs. Sandra Mowers, Mrs. Jory Walt, and our student teacher, Jake Upton. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to welcome here this afternoon. We do have a number of 6th grade students in the back, and just a quick reminder for concert etiquette in this kind of concert, your behavior should be one of respect, polite applause. This is not the kind of concert you would do any hooting or hollering or whistling. We appreciate you being here though, so you can enjoy the 6th graders play.
Austrian composer Franz Joseph Heiden lived from 1732 to 1809 and is known as the father of the symphony. He wrote 104 symphonies. Many of his works had nicknames and included brilliant, unique effects for their time. His symphony number 94 was named the Surprise Symphony because the soft second movement included a sudden loud dynamic intended to wake up an often sleeping audience. See if you can hear the surprise in our next selection titled Heiden's Surprise.
next selection is O Canada, which is the national anthem of Canada. The song was originally commissioned for the 1880 St. John Baptiste Day ceremony. The lyrics were originally in French and translated into English in 1906.
Latin America is made up of South America, Central America, Mexico, and the West Indies. The music of this region is a combination of Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian traditions, and has been influenced by the cultures of the native Indians like the Aztec, Incan, and Mayan. It features catchy melodies, infectious rhythms, and a wide use of percussion instruments. Enjoy our Latin selection, Rio Bravo, composed by Bruce Pearson.
And we also, parents, thank you for being patient as they've learned to play instruments this year. Of course, it's gotten better throughout the course of the year, but part of that is due to your diligence in signing those practice records. I know it's kind of a pain to do. We have to acknowledge those signatures and keep those grades going, but more important than the grade is the time they put in with these instruments. If they don't put in the time, they don't improve, and the converse is true. When they put in the time and the effort, you start to hear positive results. So thank you for the support that you give these young musicians.
spirituals of the late 1800s to the early 1900s. It is most commonly played at a slow to moderate tempo and usually is written in a 4/4 time. The third, fifth, and seventh notes of the blues scale are lowered 1/2 step to give it a bluesy sound. Here's our next selection, composed by Michael Sweeney, titled Just Plain Blues.
Our next selection is called Aftershock and is composed by American composer Larry Clark. The beginning of this song starts with a bold fanfare-type statement mixed with dramatic pauses. The theme includes some dissonances that create musical tension. We hope you enjoy this intense song.
significant part of the country's heritage and culture is found in its folk music. Using the language of the common folk, folk songs describe the lives and times of its people. This next selection, Boot Scoot and Barn Dance, uses the folk song "Oh Joe Clark." Joe Clark was a veterinarian in the War of 1812 who lived in the Appalachian Mountains. The many verses were made up from the incidents in his life and expanded as time passed to include over 90 different verses.
Wisconsin is the school song for the Wisconsin Badgers and the official state song of Wisconsin. Composer William T. Purdy originally wrote this piece in 1909 for a University of Minnesota fight song competition. but withdrew when a friend from the University of Wisconsin convinced him to allow the Badgers to use this song instead.
Before we play our last selection, I'd like to thank you all for coming this afternoon, and some of you I know you have to get off work, and that's a big deal. Just don't worry, next year now when they're in 7th grade, we have evening concerts with them, so that'll help your schedule a little bit. So thank you all, the parents who are here, grandparents who are here, for supporting your children, your grandchildren, your relatives, friends, okay? It's really important to these students up here that you're here. And haven't they come a long way? Would you agree? And it only gets bigger and better as they get older. So just hang on tight as they get into 7th and 8th grade. Here we go, Logan.
Our final selection is Let's Go Band, which is based on a familiar melody that you will often hear in pep bands perform. Thank you for coming to our concert this afternoon, and a special thank you to all the parents for encouraging and supporting throughout the year.
Didn't all the speakers do a wonderful job? To give them a voice also up here, and it's also part of our literacy component that we're doing here at the middle school. We like to get them to read and be comfortable speaking in front of groups. So thank you for supporting them on that. of our concert. If you would like to bring your child home with you, be my guest.